Understanding two-digit numbers is one of the basics of place value understanding. Let me show you a simple activity you can do at home with your child to help them understand. As much as possible in my videos, I try to use just basic items that you'd have at home, so it's a no cost. However, if you're going to buy one thing to help your primary age child, I suggest place value blocks that look like these. You'd get ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands in the pack, and they're invaluable for our understanding of place value. The value of place value blocks is that children can actually learn to see the relationship between a 1 and a 10, and a 10 and a 100, and so on. A first simple exercise would be to let them play with them. Give them the ones and the tens, don't say what these are, and just say, how many of the blue ones do you need to stack to make one of the red ones? Then get them to count how many units that is. And when they say 10, you can then hold up the red one and say, so what is this worth? Oh, that's a 10. Okay, we'll call that a 10 and the blue one a 1 from now on. I don't suggest this initially until your child is very familiar with the ones and the tens, but when they're ready, you can do a similar exercise with the tens and say to your child, how many of the tens do you think will fit into the yellow one? They'll work out eventually that it's 10. Oh, so 10 tens equals 100. On a whiteboard or a piece of paper, if you don't have a whiteboard, draw up the first place value house with an O for the ones, a T for the tens, and an H for the hundreds column. Above each column, put the appropriate place value block to remind the child what that represents. Once you've talked about the fact that the ones always go in the ones column and the tens in the tens column, you might not go on to the hundreds column as yet, then you can start a simple activity. Write down, for example, the number 2 and say, can you show me that number with the place value blocks? And hopefully they will put 2 of the ones in the ones column. If they don't, then do the first one with them. Now write a different number, I've chosen a 7, in the ones column and ask your child to show that with the blocks. Make sure they put them into the correct column. Next, you could write a 1 in the tens column and say to them, oh, look, I've written the number 17. Can you make that using the blocks? You might need to say to them, oh, do you need to change the ones or not? No, there's still 7 ones. What do you need to add to the tens column? 110. Help them as much as possible by guiding them through questions like that. Continue through with different examples, sometimes with you writing the number, and sometimes with them writing a number, and you putting in the blocks. Do this particularly if they're struggling and getting the wrong column, so you can model it correctly. It's best if, to begin with, you only write a number that changes one of the columns, either the ones or the tens change. So all the child is having to think about is which is the correct column. And when they're ready, this might be after you've done this activity 2, 3, 4, however many times you need to, then you can be changing both the tens and the ones numbers at the same time. When your child is ready for it, this is an extra challenge that you could add on at the end of the activity. So take some squared paper from a maths book. I like the 1 centimetre squared books just because there's actually room to write each digit in its own square, which really helps place value understanding. Mark up the hundreds, tens and ones columns, just like you have on the whiteboard, and maybe do the first one yourself and show how, oh, we had 2 in the ones column. Let's write that down on this paper, 2 in the ones column, and then get them to do the next one, looking back at their original chart and the place value blocks. It's vitally important to get your child able to write the numbers in the correct column And that is by far and beyond the biggest problem I see with students who have got through to age 10, 11, 12, and even higher, and they don't actually know how to line up the numbers correctly because they haven't got that place value understanding. And then any algorithm or adding or subtracting in columns just means nothing to them. There are many ways to support your child with this activity to make it easier for them so that they're achieving, or indeed to challenge your child more, particularly up into the hundreds and thousands, using exactly the same kind of activity. Do ask any questions in the comments below, and if you've got a specific issue with your child, please ask me questions or request a specific video. And please remember to like and subscribe my channel so that I can carry on producing these videos to help you to help your child.